Hello everyone, I'm Koichi Kawamoto, and I'll be one of your guides for today's Nintendo Direct. I'm the producer for Nintendo Switch 2.
I'm Takuhiro Dota, the director for Nintendo Switch 2.
And I'm Tetsuya Sasaki, the hardware design lead for Nintendo Switch 2.
What you just saw was Mario Kart World, launching exclusively on Nintendo Switch 2. Now, what do you think this brand new Mario Kart game will be like?
Welcome to Between the Joysticks. Press start and then we're off. Nick and Jon, they've got the sauce. Breaking news and some hot takes. Even if there's some mistakes, Nick is captaining the ship, while Jon gives thoughts straight from the hip. But when their powers combine, we're all in for a hell of a time. Between the Joysticks, it's the best. Up to 6 things they will address. Tell all your friends and settle in. Between the Joysticks now begins.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 136 of the video game podcast Between the Joysticks. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jon.
Hi.
Jon, happy Nintendo Switch 2 Day.
We got it. We did it. We made it.
We did it?
We did it. It was all us.
You're going to take credit for all that, huh?
Well, if the internet, or if the internet was more positive about the whole event as a whole, maybe I'd take credit. But I'll wait and see if I want to take credit.
Yeah, I mean, we did it in some of our predictions came true.
Yeah.
We can go as far as that, but yeah, what a day it is. We are recording the day of the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal, April 2nd. And so expect this episode to be all about the Switch 2 and all the details we learned over the past week over 2 Nintendo Directs. There's so much to get to, so there will be no 6 things, just Nintendo.
Fuck yeah, bud.
Which is something we don't talk about on the show very much. Nintendo is not our preferred platform. But also, we've never done this show during a console launch, which is equally exciting.
That's a good point.
That is pretty wild. So we're going to get right to it. But if you have thoughts, we want to hear them on the show. Please write in betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com. Shoot us a DM on Twitter @joystickspod, or comment on our YouTube video. Comment on this very video. That YouTube page is Between the Joysticks. Any of those things,
Guys, Nick's using his sultry voice. Watch out.
Yeah, I'm trying to seduce you into writing a great email because, as we'll get into, the Switch 2 is something.
Yeah.
There is a lot to talk about, and I assume we're going to talk about it next week as we kind of finally learn a little bit more. We kind of settle into our
But
thoughts.
never again after that.
Yeah, never again. Yeah, not over the next 2 months. But yeah, so this is some hot takes, especially for that Switch 2 Direct that aired earlier today. But before we get into those directs, let's get into the big meaty details that we now know about the Switch 2. First things first, Jon, we got a release date.
Yes.
June 5th of this year, 2 months away. Switch 2 will be out, and I think you're happy about that date.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm happy. Obviously, well, not obviously, I guess most people don't know my birthday, but my birthday is June 4th, so
Yeah, there you go.
It's a very easy sell to be like, happy birthday to me. I'm gonna try and pick one of these up. Yeah, it's always funny when like something happens around a birthday with release dates, because every single time if you're around somebody whose birthday is within a week of that date, hey, that's my birthday.
Yeah,
every
they
time,
do.
every time,
Every game
myself
release
included,
date.
obviously. But yeah, so no, happy about it being very quick, happy about it being close to my birthday, and happy that I stuck by my June prediction because I like being right. So
Yeah, and I can't think of many consoles that launched in summer at all.
No, I mean, the industry shifts so much, and summer used to be the dead zone, like of just like we avoid this. Kids are out, and school is out. They're outside.
Not this summer.
No, really, no summers ever anymore since.
But this one especially, this June is packed because obviously we'll talk about the launch lineup for the system, but Death Stranding 2 as well. That June is heating up. Mm-hmm. It's heating up. All right. Let's get to the more juicier things. Let's get to the price.
Okay.
So the price of the console in the United States is $449 for the base model, or you can buy a bundle for $500 that comes with the launch game Mario Kart World. What do you think about that, John? We predicted it to be 400.
Yeah.
Maybe I think did you go? Maybe you went higher. Maybe you did say 450.
I might have. I should really keep track of this stuff better. Let us know if I did. But I mean, it's not great. It's not that attractive price point you hope to see where you just kind of go, cool, let's go.
No-brainer.
Right. It's not a no-brainer price point, but I think it is a realistic price point. And, you know, we're not going to steer the conversation this direction, but just like there's so many unknowns in the world right now and just with obviously looming tariffs and things. So I think this is just both a price point that is reflective of inflation kind of being an extra thing this past couple years and Nintendo wanting to make sure that if there is looming things down the pipeline that they're not going to be eating dick, you know, with every console being sold. If all of a sudden, you know, they did try to, you know, do one for the consumer and say, hey guys, $349, you know, it's a little bit more than the original one, like, but we're going to keep costs, and then something happens and they get fucked. So I'm okay with it being at that price point. It's a little higher, but it's not crazy unexpected.
Yeah, I am with you. They're competitors, PlayStation and Microsoft, outside of a sale here or there. They're the same price. You know, the starting price for a disc PS5 is still $500. Right. The same price I paid in November of 2020.
And if you're one of these people out there going, yeah, but like those are way better machines from a gut standpoint, yes, but don't forget the portability and all the other aspects that come with the Switch.
And I do think when they get into the nitty gritty of this thing that it has a potential to run games at 120 FPS, bigger screen, you know, it's the same thickness, you know, better dock, better all around peripherals. You know, you got the magnetic Joy-Cons now. That I think with all the tech upgrades to this thing, I think this price makes sense. With all the factors.
Well, and like
together.
you know, and like you don't have to go back very far in history to look at the launch of the PS5 Pro and the hullabaloo that everybody freaked out with that one, and then you know it didn't matter.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be a harder pill for some people to swallow. There's going to be a lot of people that, you know, a lot of parents out there where their kids are going to beg them for this thing, and they're going to look at that and go, I don't know, Johnny. Like, I don't know. But it's still going to sell like hotcakes.
Right. And you asked me the question, do you think the Switch 2 will outsell the Switch 1? This is more evidence of me going, no, it probably won't, at least at this point. But yeah, I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's just, but I'm okay with it. If I was interested in the Switch, this price is fine for me.
Yeah, there's actually a different price conversation. Don't know if you want to get into it yet, but I'm sure we will. That seems a little more crazy to me.
We can go right into it because that is the next subject, is the price of the games themselves. So this was not shown during the Direct itself, but on the website, a digital copy of Mario Kart World is $80 up front.
80 big ones.
A digital copy of Donkey Kong Bonanza is $70 up front. And then the physical versions of those games for Mario Kart World is a whopping $90 up front.
Now, have they confirmed that these are USD prices yet? Because the only thing I've seen was the European thing.
Correct. So that's all we know as of now. And so, again, these things will be... next week we'll probably, like I said, have definitive answers to all these questions because, yeah, why is Mario Kart a premium price game as opposed to Donkey Kong Bonanza, which we'll get into, looks like a full-fledged, realized 3D Donkey Kong. It doesn't look like a budget game at all, and it's somehow cheaper.
But yeah, even using that phrase budget, it's like, well, $70 isn't budget.
No,
so like, what is the reason for that?
Exactly. But we'll go where it stands because all the insiders are reporting this to be the price so far. Yeah, take it from there, John. Not only are we seeing a $10 bump to the $70 price we're used to for video games in general, we're seeing even an extra bump for Mario Kart for some reason.
Yeah, well, let me just start with that. Like, one thing I do like about this is that there is an option to get a bundled-in version of the Switch with Mario Kart for $4.99. I highly suggest that if you are interested in Mario Kart, that's the version you go with. You're never going to see Mario Kart World be less than... It's not going to go on sale for years. So if you want that game, I would advise you to get that one. But... yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a company out there that, you know, knows that they have their audience in their palm of their hands like Nintendo does, so they know they can get away with it. But it doesn't speak well for the industry. I mean, you were talking earlier that like Grand Theft Auto is over there going, woo, yeah, Nintendo, thank you. That now this is just carte blanche for everybody else to kind of jump on board. And, I'm not going to sit here and kind of say like, oh, I feel so betrayed by these companies because like I am the guy that continuously harps on economics of this shit being fucked. But it does kind of just, if you can't, with the lack of information that they've provided at this point, not really being upfront with the price point on the stream itself, just kind of, was it Jeff Keighley that came, or he leaked the price first, but then you saw like actual, because I haven't seen, I don't know
what we're getting at here. Are you asking where the price came from?
Yeah.
It's from Nintendo's site.
It is from Nintendo.
You can go to Nintendo.com and the digital price for Mario Kart.
So yeah, it just seems cagey. It seems like, we're going to do this whether you guys like it or not. Again, inflation doing what it does. But I think there might also be something to be said about when they raised the prices from 60 to 70 a couple years ago, or at least Sony first party did. I believe they were the first ones to do it.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Right.
No, they weren't the first one. It was 2K.
2K. So, when all those companies did that, the $10 price increase was met with a lot of hostility, understandably so. But it was a necessary thing to kind of recoup the losses that COVID and all these things ran amok with. And I think what they quickly found out was that $10 bump didn't make a fucking bit of difference for the company's bottom line. So they're just going to kind of push it back up, keep pushing it until it makes sense, until people stop buying it. And I don't know, it sucks. But I also think that it is a necessity with the way the industry is going.
Yeah, and it is, and again, this is an instant reaction. We'll get into the details they did share about Mario Kart, but Mario Kart is a free online game. Maybe they say, Mario Kart has had so many DLC expansions. Maybe they say like, this is $80 for the base game. All future updates of the game are free. This is a 24-player online game, a co-op free roam game, as we'll get into. There's a lot going for this game, but yeah, I understand the internet's reaction to this, and there's no way that Nintendo can sell it right now. But when the game's out in people's hands, when the people that complain buy it anyway, as they do,
right?
We'll see. Like I said, it's just the gut. It's a gut punch. You want momentum for this console, and now your stomach's a little like gasp. Ugh. Like, I was in for the Switch 2. Oh, God, why do they got to make me even doubt it for a second?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and they don't put their games on sale. They sell shit at the highest end. So, like, yeah, if you want to be a Switch 2 player and you want to play the next Mario, the next Zelda, the next whatever when they come out, or even a year after release, count on paying that price. Mm-hmm. You want the next release from the big three, the Pokemon, Zelda, Mario, there's $240 right there.
Right.
It does... It's something that I can kind of like understandably push to the side in the back of my head and be like, whatever, it's the cost of doing business. But when you start to kind of do it over and over again, it will, I think, like when I'm going to get a Switch 2. Maybe we can just answer that right now. I'll just get that out of the way. Like, sure. I'll pre-order one of these things. But I'm not going to buy a bunch of games. Like, it's just not going to happen. I'm going to have the thing for the things that are there, but never in the history of whatever will I want to buy a third-party game on that platform if they raise the prices on those two. Never.
Well, yeah, we'll see, because like as you mentioned with Grand Theft Auto going, yay, thanks Nintendo. I mean, when the one domino falls, we'll see where everyone else goes. It will only be a matter of time. It will Ghost of Yotei be a $80 game.
Listen, my final stance on it is just if it somehow fixes development times. Stop firing people at companies as long as it, if it's just a money game. If it fixes that issue, all right. If it's just your typical corporation seeing what they can get away with bullshit, and they're never going to be upfront with you on that. So
right.
Just hope things get better if that is the case. It won't, but let's hope.
Yeah, and we'll learn more. That's kind of where I'm at. We're just learning this now. This was another detail not shown in the direct, so. Nintendo has 2 months to really kind of massage the messaging around this and as to why it is, and then we'll go from there. Mm-hmm. Like you said, we will be talking about Nintendo for the next 2 months for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are the big plot points of this thing. So do you want to get into that first Direct of last week?
Sure do.
All right, so the Nintendo Direct Lite, that weird Nintendo Direct they announced before the Nintendo Direct for Switch 2, that was focused on Switch 1 games. And as John and I predicted, we were pretty accurate in our predictions on how this thing would go. And it was kind of a mix of what you and I had said. So we're not going to talk about everything, but we'll talk about the big ones or the ones that are interesting. And first up, I have Shadow Labyrinth, the Bandai Namco Studios Pac-Man game that is coming July 18th of this year. Looks to be a Metroidvania and a 2D side scroller with puzzle mechanics, in which the unique mechanic here is you eat your enemies and you can turn into them.
Yeah.
In Pac-Man fashion.
Yeah, maybe the weirdest divergence of a IP from what you're used to seeing it as.
Right.
Nobody could have ever predicted that this would be a game in 2025. But yeah, it looks kind of dope.
Yeah, that's why I kind of want to bring it here. Is that it actually looks good, great. What you expect from these games now, that Hollow Knight set the bar at. Great animation, great visuals. Looks to have unique mechanics. It seems that they can deliver.
I love too. There was a part in the trailer that's it looks like. You transform into old school Pac-Man and you're kind of on the top of the ceiling and you're literally eating power pellets. I'm they're literally playing around with the history of this character also, which I would expect of them too, but not maybe on the nose.
Right.
It's going to be one of those experiences where I kind of think if they can nail the gameplay and how it feels and all that stuff, there's going to be a lot of whoa, smile moments where you're just
right.
That's creative and cool. But yeah, I don't know. I love my Metroidvanias.
Yeah, a unique take on a very old gaming franchise.
Is that one coming? That one's coming to everything, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
yes,
cool.
it is. Yep. All right, the next big game that I wasn't expecting to be here, but here it is, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We got a kind of an extended look at the game. We got to look at some a new suit for Samus, new abilities. Seems the focus in this game is on psychic abilities. You can control your shots and stuff like that, move them mid-air using these psychic abilities. But where I want to start with this is that this means that Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is a Switch 1 game as well. And I believe I asked you this at some point during this show over our 100 episodes, is that if that would be a disappointment. And how do you feel about that now?
It's a disappointment, but it's not anything that's going to deter me from trying to enjoy the game, right? There was one of these kind of games on the last release, and I think it's called Breath of the Wild. So that ran on Wii U too, and they had it launch on both, and no issues. So if you can do the art style and stuff fine and make it a very polished experience, I don't think that'll be a problem. And let's not forget, this is a game that was started development a long time ago. They rebooted the project, so I don't know if it was a complete reboot from the ground up, but even if it was, that started a couple years ago in and of itself. So you kind of figure that this would be on Switch 1, but it does seem like they're also adding in some features that will make it a more robust experience for the new console.
I was gonna bring that up. That it shows up in the Switch 2 Direct, and they said, I think it was 60 FPS or was it 120?
120 FPS at 1080p or 60 at 4K, and you can use the new. Sorry, guys, that we're kind of drip feeding things into the front of this.
No, it's hard how it is.
It's hard to keep everything, but the mouse functionality that the Switch 2 is going to have, they added that in so you could control. Because what I have heard with the original Metroid Prime experience for GameCube / Wii, did the first one never come, or the second one came to Wii and the third one came to Wii? Anyway, I've heard that they're way more fun to play with the actually pointing around.
Right. Yes.
And so, that's you expect Nintendo to do some shit like that. So I think it basically, long story short, it's going to be great, and I'm probably most excited for that game on the Switch, honestly, right now.
Yeah, to finally, they didn't give a release date, and at this time we thought maybe because it launched with Switch 2 and didn't want to just say that, but now it's kind of, as we'll get into more of the games shown here, Switch 2 is heavy in the summer and does have more games coming this fall. So do you think this is just a winter game for them?
Yeah. I think this will be their like October, November, whatever they, wherever they need to slot it. I mean, it could also be one of these games that's just holding off for Grand Theft Auto. Like they're like, we have it ready. We're not going to launch it. We're not going to launch it on the launch window, but we also don't want to date it because. So it could just be one of those like they're just waiting for that, and then they'll have it there.
Okay. All right. The next game I wanted to bring, speaking of another Hollow Knight clone, The Eternal Life of Goldman from Weappy Studio. No release date on this, but every time this hand-drawn looking game shows up, you kind of take notice. Not only is it because it looks beautiful, but because you play as a very old man wielding a cane.
I'm an old man.
Which is an interesting choice. I hope. I imagine there's some a good story reason for that. It definitely makes it stand out from the typical characters we've been seeing in all of these Metroidvania games. So just wanted to highlight it. Look out for it.
It's just gorgeous. Like watching this little Steam vignette thing where they're kind of, the major draw is the detail in the backgrounds and the environments, and everything looks kind of hand drawn, like it was made by Disney or Studio Ghibli or somebody from back in the day. And there's a cool mechanic where like your weapon is your cane, but you can keep getting these different attachments that slot into your cane, whether it's a part of the handle that can allow you to slide down ropes, or whether it's you're going to replace the bottom piece that allows you to pogo higher so you can get to double jump and get to other areas that you wouldn't be able to otherwise, that a lot of Metroidvanias have. So if it plays well, controls well, and like it's not some sort of short little thing, because that is, when you see games this beautiful that kind of make you go like, whoa, you start to, I start to think like, okay, is this going to be kind of a shorter thing, right? Because it's just such a lift to make games like this. But like you said, gonna have my eye on this one for sure.
It's coming to everything, so check it out. All right, next up is Rhythm Heaven Groove, a sequel to a game that came out in 2015, a very silly franchise. That has a bunch of you doing a bunch of weird things. Reminds me of kind of like WarioWare. Just really bizarre and really out there, but funny. A lot of people online were excited about this one. It's coming next year, 2026. So just wanted to highlight it.
I could see my kids like just finding this enjoyable, very much so.
Yeah, looks good. One to keep an eye out for, but see you next year.
Yeah, your typical part. This is a game I think you'd want to play with your friends in the room if you can.
Sure. All right, I'm going to do my best to describe this.
Oh, God.
Next thing they went over was the virtual game cards.
Oh, okay,
a new feature that is coming to Nintendo Switch and presumably Nintendo Switch 2, and that is where now digital games are referred to as virtual game cards as opposed to the physical game cards that you normally use, but they want them to kind of operate the same way a physical game card works. So going forward now, if you have an account on multiple Switches, you can go ahead and play that game on transfer that game to those Switches that you have. And of course, in a very Nintendo fashion, they have to communicate with each other first. They have to be near each other for this communication to happen. But once they do, you are free to exchange it. Same thing with now a family plan. So everyone that's in your family, you can loan the game out to. So if, again, they have to be on the same network, but what you can do is you can give the game to someone on your family plan, loan it to them. They can hold on to it for 2 weeks. And once those 2 weeks expires, the game goes bloop and is back in your inventory on your Switch, your digital inventory, and you can resume playing it. An interesting idea, John. Very Nintendo thing to do. Game sharing, cross progression. That is something we see on other platforms, but here's Nintendo's silly take on the concept.
Nintendo wants everybody in your family to have a Switch so bad. Like that is their whole MO.
Yeah, we'll get into that later.
I think this is great. First of all, I mean, it's not something that I'm going to utilize that much. I mean, I will say it makes me maybe a little more likely to buy a digital or game on Switch, but at the same time, boy, do those games hold their value. So like buying a physical Switch is always an easy one because like, oh, I'll be able to get $30 from this. But yeah, having a a group of friends or you got your whole family just in this little thing that you can easily swap this non-existent physical item around is pretty cool. I wonder if there's ever I know there's not. This is just me talking shit and just thinking, but like what if like there was a way you could transfer it to GameStop and get money for it. Like GameStop has their own like existing thing. Be like, oh, you can transfer it here. And then
I know a lot of people have considered like that kind of idea of like turning a digital game.
You can do that, man. I'm digital all the way. But no, it's cool, man. It's just another way for them to kind of, just being consumer friendly. I can't really think of anything negative to say about it. I don't know if it's going to really change the way people play all that much, but it is cool. It's a nice little thing they're doing, helping us out, helping all the little guys out.
Well, they're trying to remove the sting of that $80 game you're going to be buying.
Yeah, for sure. Anything they can do to be like, yeah, we know, but like you only have to buy it once and four copies, which like that is a compelling thing. Honestly, it's a little compelling.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like you said, like if you in your house you already have 2 Switches, right? So you're getting there, and if you don't sell a Switch and you get the Switch 2, you'll have 3 Switches in your house,
right?
And you can. It's great. It's great for that purpose. But I think like, if you lived across the country, there's no advantage. We can't sneakily work this out. So,
well, I mean, unless like I mean, it does say right, like if you're a part of somebody's family account group,
they said they had to be on the same network.
You still have to be on. Okay,
yeah,
all right. I don't know if there's a way
they
to
covered their
bypass
bases.
That. Yo, ship me your Switch. I'll load the game. I'll ship it back to you.
Oh, I'm sure there's some way to confuse Switches to be on the same network. Someone will figure it out for sure. All right. Yeah. The next thing, my game of the show. Again, one of those things that you're looking out for every time there's a showcase is what's that game that's going to get me excited and happy? And here we go. Marvel Cosmic Invasion.
Okay. I thought you were going to be cute and say Tamagotchi Life.
We'll talk about that one next. Yeah. But this is coming from Tribute Games and publisher Dotemu, who we just talked about last week, and I forget that name, Absalom. We're also publishing that as well. Also publishing Shinobi Art of Vengeance. But these are the same developers of TMNT, Shredder's Revenge. This is a Marvel beat 'em up. Features 15 characters. You're allowed to pick 2 at the start, and you're able to switch to them mid-combat or call them in like fighting game style for assist. And it looks awesome.
Yeah,
it looks so fucking good. Coming to all platforms.
This is the perfect use of superheroes.
Yes,
perfect use of these IPs. This is a little bit of nostalgia, a little bit of modernity. We just saw what Turtles did. That game's fucking great.
Yep.
So why wouldn't it be better with more unique? Like the Turtles are all unique, but at the end of the day, they're turtles with just different weapons. But like now, okay, we got Storm, we got Wolverine, we got Spider-Man that turns into Venom, and like so there's just gonna be a little bit more variety with the gameplay that's at hand. And it looks it's gonna be a banger.
Yeah.
You absolutely know.
Yeah, it's going to be a great package. And, again, coming to all platforms, not Nintendo at all. So that leads us to the final game of the Nintendo Direct Lite, the showstopper, as they say. Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream, coming next year. I am unfortunately not familiar with this franchise at all.
Nope.
It takes your Mii characters and looks like a mix between Animal Crossing but with Miis. And a silly sense of humor. The trailer has a couple of funny moments. But, this is kind of what they decided to end the show on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Nintendo IP right now. This is the 19th most sold Nintendo IP, apparently, at 11.57 million over the series life. So it is something that, has a lot of draw to it, but something tells me that out of the 11.57 million, 11.47 million are sold in Japan. So, I have nothing to say about this one. It's just it's not my kind of game. If you're maybe more of a cozy game player and want a fake little sim life thing that you can do, check it out.
All right,
but kind of a bummer of a final game, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Definitely not the jaw dropper you're typically looking for with that final game, but that was it. That is kind of all the big announcements. There were a bunch of smaller announcements as well, but that leads us how you're going to rate this Nintendo Direct Lite, John. Do you want to go first, or do you want to hear what the poll did?
Oh, you can do the poll first.
All right, the poll sits at 44% D, 11% C, 16% B, and 28% A.
Excuse me? I swear we did one of these. I was like, it was pretty good, and everybody gave it a D.
Right.
Whatever. I'm on the C- train, somewhere right around there. It's a hard one to evaluate, though, because we knew that there was a back half that was coming a week later, right? So, it wasn't – if we got – this is the only Direct for a couple months, yeah, that's a D. But, we got to see more Metroid Prime 4. We got a little bit of the small stuff, what's lingering, but also some information about, hey, we're trying to move – the platforms forward. I do think the virtual game sharing thing, despite I don't have a ton of enthusiasm behind it, is a cool thing that they're doing that they didn't have to do. But no, at the end of the day, a Direct that's going to end with Tamagotchi life and your game of the show is either Metroid Prime 4, which is understandable, or in no shade to Marvel Cosmic Invasion. It is more of a, it's a $20, $25 game. It's hard to get any higher than that.
Right. Right. And talking about what we talked about last week is that we thought, this is the overspill of what would eventually be in the Nintendo Direct 2 show is the games that quite don't fit there. They only wanted to do, as we find out, an hour for the Nintendo Direct 2 show, so they had to get a lot of news out there. Mm-hmm. But not to say that it was terrible. It was just, it was kind of as expected. And again, when you're focusing on a console that is 8 years old now, you're really stretching it. Yeah. But again, these are all a lot of these games coming to other platforms, and these games will be on Switch too as well. So,
you didn't want to talk about Pokemon Legends Z-A?
No interest. That game does not look good at all.
No.
Pokemon fans.
I just love it when they talk about it and they're like, with new enhanced visuals. It's this. Okay, let me go back to that sold thing. Mario, 832 million. Pokemon, 480 million. Make a higher budget game, guys. You got the money. You just
you're guaranteed.
If I could take one franchise and rip it away from a developer, it'd probably be Pokemon from Game Freak. And I don't even give a shit about Pokemon, but it's come on.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. All right.
There's a little mini rant for you.
All right, well, let's get into that Nintendo Direct Switch 2.
The daddy Nintendo Direct?
Yeah, the daddy, one. Big daddy. And, my mind's all over the place. I'm sorry. Not only did I have to do an airport run this morning at 3 a.m., I also had the adrenaline of knowing I was going to have all this information about the Switch. So my brain's kind of weirdly functioning, not functioning. But we'll get through it. All right. John, it started on Mario Kart 9, which is now titled Mario Kart World. We got a giant presentation about it. It is going to open world. It will still have your traditional cups, the 4 courses, get your points and win. But it is going to have an open world mode, a world in which you can explore and join races. Races are now 24 players. Your friends can join you in the open world, and it looks like you can find costumes and unlockables and secrets. It is a direction Mario Kart has never been in, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't know the price at this time, so we'll kind of just we'll side table that. But what did you think of this demonstration of Mario Kart World? Because I think, if I remember correctly, you flipped. You were I forget your exact words when it started with this, because you're not a fan of the franchise.
I think rubber banding as a game mechanic is the worst fucking thing. I hate it.
But I think
let me penalize the guys that are doing good.
Yeah. But I think when you saw the that it's going this open world direction,
Yeah.
I think you perked up a little bit. You're a little bit more open minded to this game.
I always like it when well-established franchises turn themselves on their head a little bit, right? Super Mario Odyssey is a great example. Breath of the Wild is a great example. The upcoming Donkey Kong game is another great example. Anytime you can do that to a franchise is going to perk me up. I do have some like reservations with this one. First and foremost, I don't like the core Mario Kart experience like I just mentioned. I think it's a fantastic and fantastically built game. It responds well. It controls well. I simply just it's this problem I have with Mario Party where there's just I feel like there's another force at play when I'm doing something, and I don't like that being able to impact how I'm performing or playing or whatever. It's the competitive side of it.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so like I want to know how robust are we talking with this open world, right? They had that little thing where it's like, we encourage you to drive everywhere. Okay, cool, but like is that just I can or like there's reasons to, right? Like, they made a big deal of like when you finish a race, you then race to the next race, which is cool. That's an added mechanic, and there's a free roam mode and all that. But like if the extra driving open world elements is simply just either you're driving from the race to race and like you can kind of go wherever and maybe take shortcuts and stuff if you want, that's cool. But if like that free roam element is like almost its own side thing that's just like, yeah, and then you can just go explore. It's like, that's not what I'm looking for. But if it's more Forza Horizon style where like you said, like, yeah, there's like, there's a crazy thing over off in that direction. It's not associated with a race, but like you can try and, if there's like some sort of light platforming elements to how a Mario Kart car works, like it seemed like there was grinding elements in this new game. If you can figure out a way to make that a fun thing and then somehow implement gameplay mechanics into it. It'll be tricky though because you can't add in anything that'll affect gameplay. Really, it's all going to be costumes and aesthetics and stuff. And so I don't. I got no more. Okay. I got no more.
Yeah, I think this is smart. This franchise has typically just been multiplayer racing and battle modes, right? Where you're in an arena and then shooting the in-game weapons at each other. So having a different way to play, a better way to play solo too. Like you said, if there are unique challenges, unique ways to unlock things in this open world that you can compete with by yourself, that'll go a long way. And I think this game is going to be very popular. And
it's going to be massive. That's probably. I mean, they're easily like, yeah, I can charge $90 for that one.
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let's move on to the next thing. Going into the Nintendo Switch 2, the big question was, what does that C button do? That's new to the Switch, but what does it do, John? What can it possibly do? It could do anything, right? Is it a share button? Is it like, on the PlayStation 5, you hit a button and you can, record gameplay? What does it do? And we finally know what it does.
Chat.
Yep. C stands for chat. Now Nintendo is going to join where they should have been years and years and years and years and years ago.
Welcome to the 2010s, Nintendo.
To have a robust chat and party system in which you can join your friends in a party and chat while you're playing multiple games. You can share your screen so you can see what everyone's doing on their screen, no matter what game they're playing. John and I both noticed that that looks very choppy, especially when you're playing Mario Kart and you're seeing three screens below you and they're also playing Mario Kart. It gets a little busy there, but let's start with this before we talk about the next thing they talk about here that kind of amplifies this. What do you think about this? Nintendo finally adding chat.
Yeah, I mean, long time coming.
No more friend codes. I'm assuming.
It better not. Yeah, friend codes. They've always just dropped the ball so hard with it, and that's not their MO. They're not looking for some multiplayer, sweaty competitive experience in any of their games. But this is something that they should have done a long time ago, and it seems like they put a little bit of thought into it, a good amount of I don't know, making it a robust experience. I think anybody who listens to the show knows that this is not a feature for me. I don't want to play games with other people. Like it's where I go to relax and be stress free and not talk to anybody. But again, what is the main demographic for Nintendo? It's kids, teenagers, and even now grown-ups. And so, like, teenagers are going to be all over this shit, I would imagine.
Yes.
And it is kind of cool. Like, there will be, I imagine, some games that, especially like a co-op experience, like if you were playing a Split Fiction on Switch, for instance, right? Like, to just have I don't know, an easy way to chat with each other as opposed to calling somebody on the phone or whatever the case you got to do with Switch nowadays is good. But it's not, I don't think it was worthy of the amount of time they spent on it. Like, we get it, guys. We know what a camera does. We know what chat does.
Yeah.
You can show us the little bells and whistles that this one has, but not that exciting.
Right.
Just expected.
Yeah, and similar to the DualSense controller on here, we get they both have not only the Pro controller for the Switch 2, but the Switch 2 itself has a built-in microphone. Supports noise canceling, so it's keeping the outside noise from getting in, and it's a much needed feature for Nintendo to really sell this platform. All right, let's move on to another game announcement. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, a very bizarre game that kind of walks you through a Nintendo Switch 2 hardware. Kind of at initial glance, you think of like an Astrobot. But here you can explore how you're a little dude in an isometric view, and you can explore how the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware works. You can look at buttons. You can look at how the magnetic Joy-Cons work. You can play games that take advantage of this feature. The Joy-Cons can be used as mice, so there is a mechanic where you can play a little golf mini game where you're kind of using the mouse controllers to play putt-putt and get a golf ball into a hole. An interesting idea and a cool idea, to be honest, if it wasn't for one nagging detail in which it is a paid experience. It is not a pack-in with the Nintendo Switch 2. We do not know the price, but this will be a launch game.
Here's your answer as to why they felt comfortable charging $80 or $90 for Mario Kart, because they got the biggest balls in the fucking world to pull something like this. When they showed this thing, I was like, okay, that's cool, whatever. I won't even bother to open that thing probably. It's, if you want to know more about the system or whatever, sweet. I thought that, Astro's Playroom, yeah, it's the coolest thing ever, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not what this is. And that was free. And so I cannot believe that they think people are going to pay for this thing. I was looking at the Nintendo Switch subreddit after the show, just kind of reading what people's thoughts were. And, like, it didn't matter if it was like, what are your thoughts on Metroid Prime? What are your thoughts on any game that was shown? It's like you go into the comments and then immediately talk about this thing and how they're charging for it. Like, just a weird decision.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
It would have worked perfectly if it was just a pack-in. I think it would ease the sting of the console that's costing more than the past Nintendo consoles. And then none of it looked like, when you think of Astro's Playroom, that is a fucking game. That's a 3D Mario clone that, it's not very long. It takes you around 4 hours to beat, but it's a great game, and it comes with the console. So I don't get why this one I think what I'm getting from all this is just we're in cocky Nintendo land.
Yeah.
And cocky Nintendo is just making some mistakes.
Cocky anybody.
They're stepping on, it's like it's too many mistakes right now, I think. Especially like what we talked about with the momentum of this thing. Why do the 140 million Switch owners want to upgrade? And it's like, ugh, you punch me in the gut with that $450 price tag. Ugh, Mario Kart's $80 digitally. Ugh, this is not a pack-in game. I got to pay for this welcome tour. Why? Quit doing this to me. I'm in. I want to be in. Quit making me not second guess myself.
The Japanese yen is very bad right now. They're hurting for money.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That's all I got on that one. I don't.
Yeah, just a strange thing to put into your console launch. Like, again, just making it paid is the only thing that's weird. Like, that's egregious about it. Just I don't understand.
Right, and okay. Well, I'll play devil's advocate. We really don't know what the game is. We don't know what it costs. maybe it's more robust than we're thinking.
And it's
but-
$10.
Right.
I don't know.
But still, right, at this first glance, it's like $1 is too much. So,
Right, exactly.
But, we'll see. Again, Nintendo has 2 months to sell you on the game. So we'll go from there. Next up, we had a kind of a breakdown of what kind of games you can play on a Nintendo Switch 2. The first being obvious, Nintendo Switch 2 games.
Yeah.
Secondly, Nintendo Switch 1 games.
Oh.
Thirdly, Nintendo Switch 2 enhanced games.
Oh?
And this is very interesting. Oh, we skipped something. Sorry.
Ah.
Step back. We forgot about the camera.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I kind of mentioned it, I think, a little sideway, but
Yeah, I'm sorry. When they're talking about that game chat thing, we forgot to mention that we saw the first Nintendo accessory, and that is that it comes with a camera.
yep.
This will be available at launch. This is $60.
Whoa.
And what this does is basically when you're using that game chat feature, you can just like any Twitch streamer or any streamer on YouTube, you can see yourself now. It'll capture just your face
Yeah, I like that part of it.
and just apply it to the screen, so you're getting live reactions and then transferring this back to what we were talking about with Switch 2 enhanced games. One of those Switch 2 enhanced games is Super Mario Party. And what you get now is you get your live reactions in the game because your face is next to your character. And now there are going to be additional mini games that pretty much act like it reminded me of the Kinect.
Yeah.
You're in the game. One of the examples they showed is you're balancing like Goombas on your head, and you're physically moving to keep these Goombas on your head. And there it looks to be a bunch of mini games, including punching the coin block and stuff like that. That is going to take advantage of this Switch 2 camera if you have it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a neat idea. It's I don't know. It seems a little cumbersome. Like looking even at the picture of it, it just takes this cord and just plugs it right into the top of the Switch, and it's like kind of looks a little weird. But I don't know. I just think of like my son in a couple years when Switch 2s are a little more prevalent around. And he's got some buddies and they want to play Mario Party. Like it is a seemingly easy, neat way to kind of feel like you're with your hanging out with your friends a little bit more.
Yes.
I just wish I liked hanging out with friends.
Right. And then we'll continue with the Switch 2 enhanced games because that is...
Well, hold on. You also missed local play via GameShare.
Yeah. Well, we'll finish my thought on this and then we can go to the local play. That other games will be Switch 2 enhanced games. And again, the point of the Switch 2 enhanced games is that they're taking advantage of a Switch 2 feature. One of them I know is both Zelda games. This is huge. Mm-hmm. Both Zelda games will run better. I don't remember if there were any other things like
they'll run better.
Yeah, is there any other Switch 2 enhancement to those things? To those games?
They didn't know. I like because you had a brilliant point. Like that we were talking about. Like, what could you do with enhancing these games? Like, well, Tears of the Kingdom, you can build things easier. I'm like, brilliant, that's perfect, right? You could use the mouse thing or whatever you need to do.
They showed that,
but they didn't show that. They didn't even say it. So I was like, that was weird. Yeah, they just mentioned like increased load times and increased resolution and stuff.
Yeah, and then another game is Metroid Prime 4, in which you'll be able to use the mouse feature to play it like you were talking about, like with a Wii controller, but this time like using both Joy-Cons as mice. That will be another Switch 2 enhanced game. They talk about a little bit later that Civilization 7 is a third-party Switch 2 enhanced game because same thing. It uses the Joy-Cons as mice, so it will be labeled as a Switch 2 enhanced game. So it seems like there will be quite a few games that are going to get this label when they take advantage of peripherals that are built into the Switch 2 to enhance the experience outside of just I'm using the Joy-Cons as is, or I'm using the Pro Controller as is. But if you take advantage of a Switch 2 feature, you're going to get this enhanced label.
Yeah, I like this. I mean, on one hand, you could kind of view it as a way to pad their launches or pad the amount of games or whatever it is. But we live in an era where this happens all the time, right? Games continuously get pushed forward, remastered, whatever the case, so companies can resell them, make some more money, and people get happy because they get the games that they love in a little bit nicer package. But the amount of effort that they're putting into this it makes me appreciate it, right? Like they could have easily just kind of done what a lot of companies do and just put out the remastered version, kind of like they did with Metroid Prime Remastered, which was cool that like there's a way to play this now. But you want to play the games you love? Well, cool. You can play them again, and there's added things to it. They didn't have to do that. Is it going to make a game that I've already beaten or felt, feel brand new? No. But I never beat Tears of the Kingdom, and I was one of those people that like kind of disliked the way that building feels. So if that is a feature for that game, I will absolutely pop that back in. So I kind of like it.
And again, details are sparse, but it sounds like some of these are paid upgrades. The Super Mario Party one is a paid upgrade. It sounds like the Zelda ones are free, those enhancements, but it sounds like it's on a case by case basis that you might have to pay.
I feel like I almost can guarantee like the typical upgrade path for at least PlayStation is $10, right?
Yeah,
I feel like this is gonna be 20. I have a feeling Nintendo.
Everything's getting worse.
Yeah, I have a feeling Nintendo will say no 20.
I'm not playing games anymore.
Yeah.
All right, we'll step back to that. Yeah, we skipped over local play via game share.
Mm-hmm.
Again, to ease the sting of that higher price tag. This will let one person own the game and then share it out to other people on the network. They showed some card games where other people were playing on their Switches. Looks like Mario Party will be another game that takes advantage of game share. So if your friends come over with their Switches, you guys can all just play via game share. A very cool feature. Again, nobody's going to argue with more ways to play. One of the big things about Split Fiction right now and why it's touted is that friend pass that lets one person buy the game, the other person play with them. So this is just, everyone wins kind of feature for video games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, back on the Nintendo DS, one of the things that they had with Mario Kart was that if one person owned it, you could get 8 friends in there to all play.
Yeah.
And like that was really, really cool. And so they're kind of trying to do the same thing here. And one of the best things I like about this is it's cross-generational, right? So like I have Levi, my son, has a Switch. I have an OLED Switch. If I get a Switch 2, all of a sudden I have a Switch for everybody, every adult or / grown-up kid in my house that we could all play something together with. So again, I like the forward-thinking consumer angle to the features they're adding. It's kind of cool.
Okay. All right, let's go into a new game announcement that takes advantage of the mouse feature. No, it's not Mario Paint. It's Drag X Drive, a 3v3 basketball game in which everyone is in a wheelchair and you use the mice simultaneously to move yourself around in that wheelchair. This is a very weird looking game. No one could have predicted this coming. John,
No.
What are your thoughts on this?
Great concept. Doesn't look like it's great execution. I think this is trying to capitalize on like that Rocket League really is this like unique experience that nobody's been able to really recapture. And I don't know if that's exactly what they're trying to do. It strikes me as like a Rocket League type experience, but basketball. But the main problem that I saw from the trailer is just how slow it seems. It's just like, if anybody who's ever sat in a wheelchair and you've tried to move around, I give those guys, people who have to sit in wheelchairs all day, a lot of credit. That shit sucks. It takes a lot of effort, and it looked like it took the same amount of effort in video game form, where it's like, oh, I have to turn, okay, drag this one, and then like your guy just kind of goes, and then you can drift forward, and they go, and it just seems very slow, and maybe there's a lot of skill and nuance to it, but it sure doesn't seem like it at this point. It just kind of seems like a way to, seems like that first iteration of a game that's going to use both of these things, and it's not great, but we want to start showing people what we are thinking and what we can do. But it could be a fun little $10 experience, maybe.
Yeah,
but
yeah, no release date on this one, so who knows? But not the most. Yeah, as John said, it's just too clunky looking right out of the gate. So it doesn't. If you can't find the fun in a trailer you present to us. You got some work to do to show it off. All right. So next up is what we predicted would happen, that a bunch of games that run on current gen consoles, the Xbox Series and the PlayStation 5, would all plant their flag that, hey, we have a Switch 2 version.
This was what I was trying to explain last week, and I feel like I fumbled it a little bit, but this is exactly what I was trying to explain. Like everybody wants to be here.
Yeah, so we I'll just to name a few. We won't go through all of them, but Elden Ring, Split Fiction, Hogwarts Legacy, Street Fighter 6, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Hitman, Cyberpunk 2077.
You're not about to skip Hades 2 in this list, are you?
I was going to talk about that later.
Okay.
There are 2 indie games that we'll specifically talk about: Borderlands 4, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Civ 7. Again, any big game over the last 4 years now,
and that couldn't run on the Switch 1.
is making the jump to Switch 2, which is great news. Again, the one great thing about the Switch 2 will be it'll have a very good lineup of software in its first year for sure, with the ports alone and its own first-party offering. So
yeah,
that's great.
I was a little mad at this point because like the big prediction I kept sticking my flag in, I felt like was that Xbox was going to show up here and like have a big thing. I was like, oh, this is perfect. They're going to come at the end and be like, and we're doing all of our stuff too. And like, nope.
Yeah,
at least not yet.
No Xbox, no Bethesda, nothing. So not yet anyway.
Not yet.
But that is definitely happening as well. But yeah, let's go right to you said you said Hades 2, so we can briefly talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Kasavin, who is the creative lead over there at Supergiant Games, showed off Hades 2. John and I, is one of our most predicted games.
Anticipated?
Yeah, anticipated games. Coming to Switch 2, of course, and hopefully other platforms as well. Sometime this year. It was 2025, I believe, was the tag on that.
Yeah, they said later this year. Yeah.
Okay, so it's great news.
Mm-hmm.
Excited, awesome. I don't really have much more to say. I want to play that game so badly.
Yeah, I mean, I've been intentionally avoiding it, and
because it is in early access on PC.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And I got a brother-in-law who's as into Hades as I am, and he's a PC only player, and so he just every time I see him, he's like, "Dude, I got 175 hours in Hades 2 already." It's like, cool, man. Like, I don't want to know anything.
Right.
Like, I'm purposefully avoiding it. So, seeing it here, great. I'm sure it's gonna be awesome. Can't wait.
All right, and I'll let you take the lead on this one, John. Another game showed up.
Did it?
I don't know. You tell me.
Are we talking about Hollow Knight?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Okay. We got a 5-second trailer in the middle of a montage.
Mm-hmm.
That Hollow Knight Silk Song still coming out for 2025, which it's interesting. That was like literally the one game I was hoping to see here. And on one hand, it's there, great. It exists. It's still tracking for this year. That's super sweet. But like we've done this 4 times now, or 3 times now. And I guess it's just better than if it wasn't here, people would be melting down going, what the fuck? Like this thing must not exist. So getting the confirmation, but I do think people's reaction is a little strange, just barring like what we have experienced with this game, where everybody's like, oh my God, thank you so much. It's confirmed. I can't believe it's finally coming. We're here. It's like, I'm not going to say that yet, guys. Like you laughed your ass off when you saw the 2025 date on the screen because it's like you knew. It's just like, why? Just, and maybe I don't think every game can get lumped into this because like this is an indie game that's going to have its own audience. Like I don't think they're worried about Grand Theft Auto. Maybe they are. I don't know. But man, can I just get a concrete date on this thing? But I will say, a little 5-second little thing I saw, pretty cool. You're sliding down a snow-covered hill. You're doing the moves because she's a boss from the first game, Hornet, the character. So you're like doing the moves that she does against you as in the game. And like I've seen that one a lot of times. And I mean, I can't wait. It's the kind of same thing with Haze. Like I'm trying not to think about these things, and just I want them here, and then I'll be a happy boy.
Yeah,
but
I think to your point, it's great that it exists still.
Mm-hmm.
That's your worry about a game that's been in development this long.
I will say, I do agree with people that being that Nintendo is the one. Nintendo's account tweeted out that like Silksong is here, it's coming this year.
Yeah, they did.
Gives me more confidence. Like I feel like Nintendo doesn't fuck around with like, no, you're saying it's coming, right? Like whereas Microsoft back when they were like every game is coming this year, is like they're probably just like, just give us what you want, and like we'll figure it out later.
Right.
So it does give me a little more confidence that it's Nintendo's the ones that are saying it, especially like the launch year of a new console. But like, yeah, that was a little hurt that I didn't have a date to point at.
So we'll end this here, John. You win $1 million if you can predict does Hollow Knight come out in 2025 or not?
Yeah.
You think so?
I have to say yes, Nick. I can't not say yes. I just went through what I fucking went through with the first one. It's on my fantasy league. Like, I have to say yes, because if I say no, then I'm going to hold myself accountable when it doesn't come out this year. So, yes, it's coming out this year. It will be a fall release.
Okay, so you're coming from a hopeful place.
Of course.
Not, but what does your logical brain say?
My logical brain also says yes. I think... Look, like Team Cherry, it's 3 dudes with a lot of help from other people, like their music and stuff. They're not inept people, right? They produced, in my opinion, a top 3 greatest Metroidvania of all time. So they might be very bad at planning and timelines and stuff, but at some point, just push the fucker out, right? I'm sure it's been...
I think they're coming from perfectionists, and they got to follow up, arguably, what people consider the greatest Metroidvania of all time.
Yeah.
So I think that's where they're at.
Well, what I'm wondering is this, like, my path with Hollow Knight is so interesting because I beat it on Switch, just beat the worst ending or whatever, and I was like, I beat the game, and then I put it away forever, right? And then I picked it back up on PlayStation, and I was like, okay, I'll go through and I'll do a couple extra things. And as I kept going through it and going towards the platinum, I realized, like, wow, they put so much of this past that first ending, right? Like, there's so much extra there, and like including the awesome, like, as much as the Pantheon destroyed me, it was an amazing video game challenge,
right.
And so they're probably like, well, we need something, at least that, and then we need a little bit more to, like. So yeah, you might be right, but again, I have to say yes. I have to. That's all
Understandable.
Yeah.
All right, I'm hoping.
It's like
hoping for you, bud.
It's probably like the same answer you'd give with like Grand Theft Auto. It's like, well, I'm just gonna say yes because I just want it. So bad.
Yeah,
like, I don't care, even if I don't believe it.
You're right. 100% right. Okay.
So I expect $1 million when it comes out.
Let's move on. Koei Tecmo partnering with Nintendo once again to bring the 3rd entry in Hyrule Warriors. This one is subtitled Age of Imprisonment, coming later this year. No specific release date. It is another Musou game.
Yep, smart on them for making a direct narrative tie, between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. This kind of, it chronicles what the imprisoning war, I believe, is what they call it.
You tell me, man.
I think that's what it is. And so, it was cool seeing Zelda wield like some sort of crazy light sword, like that's kind of a dope looking weapon. But it's a genre that nopes me out immediately. They're cool games, and people who enjoy them, I absolutely respect that. It's too much chaos, too little skill set, and that's probably a very naive thing to say for somebody who's never really played them. But
now,
it just looks chaotic, and I don't.
So the Musou games have covered a lot of properties.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there was, I don't know, a solo leveling version of their game with
you could get the right IP, you could get me.
Yeah, okay.
Solo leveling probably is not the one. Attack on Titan would be a big one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great question. What's my dream Musou property? I don't know. Like,
we can come back to
wielding like a Greek saga Kratos God of War Musou would be probably pretty sick. Where you got you're spinning the blades around, you're going through and just destroying and truly feeling like a God of War. It would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think a nice feature of those games is you play as the other characters too. So in your example, if you played as Freya and Thor and Odin and the other character and a Valkyrie, of course.
Musous are great.
Yeah, they can be. I'm sure people are very.
What are the big ones? Like, there's this one. There's the Dragon Quest ones. There's the Persona one that came out.
Yeah, they did One Piece.
Oh, One Piece has one.
Yeah, Pirate Warriors.
So a lot of Japanese anime shit.
Yep. All right. Next up, announcement to the Virtual Console is that GameCube games are now coming to Nintendo Switch Online. They featured a couple of them, including Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2, and F-Zero GX. John, are you excited at all to play GameCube games?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Wind Waker's great. There's a world. I asked you because it's your favorite Zelda.
It's up there, yeah.
Yeah.
I would probably say
You know, it's like, would you, if you had a Switch, like, would you be excited to
of
go
the
back?
3D ones, it is my favorite. Yes.
Oh, right. Link to the Past is our number one game of all time. Right. Correct. Correction. If you would go back and want to replay through this, and you said no, which I respect, but like I think I would. The Wind Waker to me, and it seems like a game that I also I really liked, but I also kind of rushed through it, just like because I didn't.
Aw.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really want to explore in the waters all that much. So seems like to me how I'm kind of going through Rebirth right now, where it's it's hitting me at the right time, the right mood, the right everything. So there's a world where maybe I'd want to go replay Wind Waker, but I don't have any interest in going back and playing a dated fighter as good as Soul Calibur 2 is. I don't really have any
one that
interest.
features Link in it.
Yeah, it's cool, but I'd rather go play a modern fighting game if I'm going to play a fighting game, and I have no experience with F-Zero, so it would be a thing where if they did release the Metroid Prime games,
that was my next question.
You know.
What's your dream team there?
Yeah, it's probably Metroid Prime. Correct. What are big GameCube? GameCube is a weird dead spot in my
That's
my
where
brain.
Luigi's Mansion debuted. Pikmin,
No.
Rogue Squadron.
No.
Resident Evil 4 debuted there.
Right. I know that was a big one. Super Smash Melee and Sunshine, and a lot of these things have kind of been brought forward. So yeah, it's not. There's not a ton on the GameCube that I'd be looking for, but there would be some that would pop up and.
My favorite Mario Kart's on there.
And
Double Dash.
Do we know? Because do we know if they said that the way that the Virtual Console works? I believe is Nintendo games are free, Super Nintendo games are free, N64 games are a paid thing.
Yeah, you have to. I think you have to play. Again, we're not.
I believe it's an extra fee on
It
top.
is there is an extra
of,
fee. Yes.
Right on top of the already existing yearly subscription for online. So if I have to do that for GameCube, I'm probably just not going to do it. If I'm being honest. So. Maybe that answers your question. I should have led with that.
Yeah, and it's for me. GameCube was the last Nintendo console I owned. That's telling me something, and I have no interest. So,
yeah,
and I love that console.
Yeah,
it had a handle on it. It was cool.
Simpsons Hit and Run. Okay.
Yeah, a lot
Jungle
of those games,
Beat.
those
Yeah. So, and not my super cup of tea, but I have no nostalgia for GameCube, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, John. I will let you discuss the next game. You do it.
Sure.
However you want to pitch this next game, because.
Well, yeah. So they kind of led into this run. They're like, this is our last trailer from our partners, right? And so, okay, not Nintendo IP, so it could be anything, right? And the trailer starts, and you kind of see a dude sitting in a chair with a moon in the background. I was like, this looks like Castlevania. Maybe Konami showing their new Castlevania game. And then the trailer goes a little bit more. And things start to sink in, right? We get this hand that reaches up to another hand, and it covers its top of its hand, and it goes down. There's a it's not specific looking emblem, but I think at that moment I go, is this a FromSoft thing? Because it looks kind of like the Elden Ring emblem. Bloodborne has those same kind of iconography with the little fork thing. They love that kind of shit. So what is this? And then the From Software logo shows up. And it shows up. And then it immediately goes into Victorian-looking building and dark themes and using words like blood. And I have to give you my blood. And anybody who is a From Software fan or been following the industry for a long time knows that there's maybe no thirstier community out there for a sequel than the Bloodborne community. Bloodborne being a PlayStation exclusive, right? A series that I believe Sony owns the rights to, but they, From Software wants to work on it. I believe that's how it is. Mm-hmm. So, From Software, the way they love to do trailers is show their name and then tell you nothing for a while. And so, we see things continue to kind of go down this Bloodborne aesthetic. But then also every once in a while you get some character that just doesn't fit that world. And then you see this dude in a big thing of armor jetpacking around like he's almost farting out of his costume. And it's just kind of, I don't know how many times I go, what is this?
Right.
During the trailer. And the same exact thing happened to me with Night Rain, right? Where it's just what are you? Because you don't really expect one of the best developers in the world, and even if you're not a fan like Nick over here, I think he would still agree with this. From Software is in that top tier category.
Yep.
You don't expect them to come out with a new IP after they released arguably their most successful game ever, but that's exactly what we got, which is apparently a Switch 2 exclusive series called the Dustbloods. Is the official name of the title, a new IP from Software.
Multiplayer.
Yeah, that is multiplayer focused. Now, that leads to a lot of unanswered questions
Here we go all over again.
that we don't have. What do you mean from Software by multiplayer, right? Is this historical multiplayer, like where you just kind of do the runes things? I don't think so. Is this Night Rain style multiplayer where it's like this kind of like you kind of just drop in and do the same thing over and over again, live servicey? I don't think so either. They showed a decent amount of shots in this trailer of like two seemingly characters kind of walking side by side. Maybe you can do more than two, maybe you can do three, but it seems to be more of a co-op kind of experience, which I'm hoping it is, because I don't want to go down this path where just like, we're making these games and you can play them by yourself if you want, but really we're designing the experience around a multiplayer suite, right? It's what they say with Night Rain. Like, you can play this by yourself, but it's going to be harder and it's not really why it's not really intended. Right. So I really am hoping that this project is made with the idea of a campaign at heart that adds in extra ways to experience it with other people if you want to. But we don't know. We don't know what really they're doing. All we know is that it's launching in 2026. Like I said, exclusive to Switch 2, which is wild. I'm pretty sure From Software kind of ended, like the reason that Elden Ring was everywhere is because they're like, we don't want to do exclusives anymore. We want to get our shit everywhere. So it's wild to kind of see this now. Nintendo might have just dropped them a huge fucking bag. But this
is the games are so expensive. They gotta pay.
yeah. Mario Kart's $90 because they got Dustblood. But it's just, it was a roller coaster of emotions. I guess like every single From Software trailer will do for me because, like, even the next time that, like, if they ever do make Bloodborne 2, it's going to be, is this Bloodborne 2? Until it fucking shows. Unless if they started off with, like, literally the Hunter. But, obviously my game of the show, the reason that I'm pretty much guaranteed to pre-order a Switch.
Okay.
It's just,
I
don't think this is going to be the multiplayer type of experience that turns me off a lot, like, entirely. Regardless, like it's nice being in a position though that like I even if this does turn out to be the exact opposite of what I wanted, a bad project, like I won't regret my Switch pre-order, but it's a nice little kick in the pants to be like, do it. Absolutely do it, because if this game is a awesome FromSoft campaign with amazing boss fights and it is this 40-hour experience and I don't have it in my hands and the Switch becomes hard to find and scalpers and tariffs and whatever, I'll be a sad boy. So, I can't. It does. I mean, I am a little disappointed that it is exclusive from the standpoint of like the visuals do seem kind of like just from what it could be. Mm-hmm. It's it was a weird one. I couldn't believe that that's what that we got a new From Software IP in this specific showcase.
Right.
Would never have predicted. Like if I said that last week, Nick, you would have probably kicked me off the show as your co-host because you know nothing about video games. But here we are. And like I said, 2026, no month, no date, no anything like that. But Miyazaki directed, and
it's good to be From Software right now. Year after year of great games, starting with Elden Ring. Armored Core wasn't her thing. That game into what's the expansion called? Shadow of the Erdtree, into this year's Night Rain, and now next year's the Dustbloods. Holy cow!
Yeah, there is just there is a certain something somewhere in the video game industry that somebody needs to bottle, and Ryuga Gotoku has it, and From Software has it, Insomniac has it. Rocksteady definitely doesn't have it. And like what are is it being very smart with your assets? Because I will admit this looks very Elden Ringy, right? Like you got the glowy sky in the backdrop, the kind of seemingly huge world, but also kind of shrouded by mountains. So maybe they're just very, very efficient and all that, but I don't
To
know.
add to that, Capcom has it. So maybe, it's just they keep taking the engine that they have and the assets and the mechanics that they have built in that they're able to just.
That probably is the
we
sauce.
have these cool ideas and they play and they're like, oh, a multiplayer vampire game that's kind of a Victorian style. Like, oh, that's kind of, these mechanics are working. This is fun to play. Let's go with it. Let's pitch it. And Nintendo's like, yeah, we want that.
Yeah, and I think the engine is a good call because if you get developers that are familiar with an engine, especially if it's a proprietary engine, right? Like if it's not Unreal 5, like a lot of those tools, from what I understand, like Decima's one of them, like there's complicated systems that require a deep level of knowledge. And when you have teams and things like what happened at Rocksteady, where you have high leadership just leave, and then you're left with like some people are like kind of understand a thing, and then you go, oh fuck, we're going to be better off switching to Unreal so we know what we're doing. It's like they don't have that problem. They're just like, yeah, whatever the Ryoga Gotoku engine is, whatever, obviously the RE engine, and I don't know the name of the From Software engine, but it's probably just like you probably have a little turnover, right? People are happy where they are. They want to stay at these companies, and then they're just like bang, 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 bang. Meanwhile, like nobody wants to go work at Rocksteady because look at what happened at Suicide Squad, and then, it's...
Right, yeah.
Sorry, Rocksteady, I don't mean to keep shitting on you. I could say BioWare if I wanted to. But they got some sauce.
Yeah. Unbelievable. From Software, just I do love it.
I know. I wish
the second time now I had to sit through a trailer with two From Software guys, pal of the show, Nick and Jon here, where they're just like, what is this? What is this? And I just go, oh, they get you every time. They get you every time. So I can't wait till whatever next year's.
Between me wishing that you loved from like Soulsborns and you probably wishing that I loved sprawling open world narrative adventures like CD Projekt Red style stuff, it's like I wish we could combine those two things. But it is what it is. That's why you guys get you get two hosts that'll cover a lot of things instead of just the same things.
For sure. All right. We have two more Nintendo announcements to talk about. Who's the developer of Super Smash Brothers?
Masahiro Sakurai.
Yeah, he has another game, and it's not another Smash Brothers. Speaking of GameCube, we're getting a sequel to the GameCube game Kirby Air Rider with Kirby Air Riders.
Excuse me, Kirby Air Ride was the first one.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
A sequel to Kirby Air Ride and Kirby Air Riders, another racing game coming later this year to Nintendo Switch 2. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Who's going to put down Mario Kart to play that? Nobody.
I don't know.
I was a little flabbergasted when this was being shown because first off, I thought this was the end of the show. So, when we saw the little Kirby star, and I was again proud of myself, like everybody, spoiler alert, guys, there was not a 3D Mario game announced. Everybody, I think, was kind of like expecting that to be here, right?
Yeah.
So you see the star, and you're like, hey, here it is. I was like, that's not a Mario, that's a Kirby star. And then so I see him flying.
How proud of yourself?
I was very proud.
Or ashamed of yourself. Which way is it going that you could identify a Kirby star versus other stars?
Depends how I feel. Right now, I'm proud, and so it's like, okay, fuck, are they doing somehow another Smash Brothers game this quickly, and like also kind of why? Because unless if you have that entire roster brought over and then add more, it's like it's a weird one to even pursue, but. Not as weird as trying to release a second kart like racing game in the launch year of a console. It makes no sense to me.
No.
It screams like the same kind of thing that EA did with Titanfall 2, where they're just like, why are you Titanfall 2 and Battlefield? Why are you releasing those two games in the same month? Don't you know how people's time works? So it might maybe there's some secret Air ride community that just love this game, but not the type of splash that I would expected them to show off the bat. Maybe it was an easy thing for Sakurai to develop. Maybe it was like, hey man,
he needed a break.
He needed a break, but also like we need a couple more games for our launch window. Is there anything that obviously we're not going to push you onto another Smash Brothers game because that would kill you. But is there anything that, I've had some ideas for Air Ride, and we can do a scene. I'm like, all right, we have a Mario Kart, but yeah, that's fine. We'll attach your name onto the trailer. People know who you are. People love you. Maybe you'll get that Smash Brothers community that just shows up, and it's probably going to sell a couple million copies. It's just, again, cannibalizing it, because who's gonna want to play this over Mario Kart? I can't imagine.
Right. It reminds me of the State of Play that had Concord and Marvel Rivals in it at the same time. This is because this teaser was so short that it's just like, I'll just wait. Wait for whatever. Nintendo loves to do a direct in September. Save it for that.
Do you know anything about that? Like, is this more like a Diddy Kong racer where it's a flyer though, right? Like, I think there is I'm trying to look up gameplay of it right now. I think there's probably got to be verticality to it, so I'm sure it does
but
play.
Even Mario Kart features verticality now. I mean, you turn into in the Mario Kart World trailer, you turned into a jet. So
that's true.
I don't know. Yeah,
and also just looking at gameplay, it does seem more just literally a car racer. Yeah,
strange.
So okay.
All right. Well, yeah. Again, Nintendo has some time to explain these games and their existence. But yeah, that led us
explain your existence.
That led us to the final game of the show. Again, as John mentioned, it's been 40 years of Mario. We just passed Mario Day, March 10th. So it's got to be a 3D Mario. This looks like a 3D game, but no, we're getting a 3D Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Mm-hmm.
Not far off. July 17th.
Great name, too. I really like that name.
Yeah, that features a 3D Donkey Kong with a 3D world with heavily destructible environments. I mean, he was just burrowing himself
That's
into the ground.
That's a mad monkey over there.
Yeah. He would go deep in the ground and then punch his way out. It looked pretty impressive. I don't know how it's going to work with all the mechanics, but it kind of gave me a little bit of what they were showing off with Tears of the Kingdom, just like a world that there's just mechanics that are going to make that game fun to play because you can pretty much do anything or go anywhere. And we're gonna work some mechanics into the world that you can break it, just like you could break Tears of the Kingdom with all the crazy things you could build with your ability to just fly up through any object.
Yeah. Yeah, there is if Ryuga Gotoku and those studios have the ability to produce games or just developers that have the way to get games out, Nintendo has the most skilled programmers in the world. They have to. The shit that Tears of the Kingdom programmed and that this looks to do, I don't know how you do it effectively, but this looks great. I mean, I think what they're trying to do with all of their IP is have that coming out party game, right? Like Super Mario Odyssey was, like Breath of the Wild was, like I think they tried to make Kirby in the Forgotten Land. It didn't land quite as much, but this is Donkey Kong's turn. This is what his.
That's another one of those Switch to enhanced games we forgot, that Kirby Forgotten Land game.
Oh yeah,
that's another enhanced.
Yeah, there's
game.
a whole separate thing you can go do, but. I think that this will be great. Donkey Kong is not an IP that I think a super large amount of people hold in high regard, but it is one of the OG. You could argue that
he was a big part of the Super Mario Brothers movie.
He has the same Nintendo birthday as Mario in a way, right? Because Donkey Kong was the game that Mario was in. So, I think it's gonna be great. Like I said, you mentioned the destructibility. That looks super fun. I'm sure Nintendo has just ape loads of hidden secrets, ways, creative ideas, things to do. In the same way that Odyssey, you could turn into a T-Rex and you could, flatten into the wall to do some 2D. They're gonna have ideas all over the place, and I mean, a fully unexpected surprise. I do wish it was a 3D Mario to end the show, but as disappointed as I was when I realized it wasn't that, it turned me around by the end of the trailer.
Yeah, it was full of that I'll say Nintendo charm that we get with the 3D Marios, which Astrobot channels as well, of just as we saw with the initial Astrobot trailer, is just this looks fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's animated well, the bosses look neat, all the other characters look neat. Donkey Kong's doing some crazy, silly shit, and you just know that Nintendo features the greatest developers in the world, arguably, and they look to be on full display here, and giving Donkey, like John said, maybe spreading their IP out a little bit more, not letting Mario just be the show stealer all the time, being the big game, but giving they saw something with Donkey Kong, and I definitely think it is this destructibility of the environments that a giant gorilla can do that inspired him to do something, and it looks impressive so far. Very colorful, yeah, it's just like Astro. I think you'll play this game and be smiling the whole time. You'll just kind of have just that pure gameplay that we like to get sometimes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I will be if I am able to get my hands on a Switch and all that good stuff. This will be a day one. Well, God, now I'm thinking about the $80 price point again. It's like, yeah,
well, this one's $70.
Oh, this one's $70.
Well,
okay.
Physical it might be $80.
Yeah, yeah, but it'll probably be one that I would want to pick it up. I would think, but
yeah, and it is an interesting strategy, right? The Switch 2 is coming out June 5th, launching with Mario Kart World and the world, that tour game and everything, and they're giving those games kind of a month to get out there, and then just smack you right after that with another big first party release in July, and summer is cooking for Nintendo Switch 2 and making a case for you to pony up that extra money.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, not a bad game to end on. All
right. So let's go into rating this Direct now, John. How would you rate this Direct? Again, we didn't know the price of the games going or leaving it. That was out there. Or we didn't even know the price of the console leaving this Direct. So what would you rate it, or do you want to hear our poll?
I'll go first this time.
Okay.
I thought it was a very odd presentation. It had a lot of highs and a lot of confusion. I wouldn't say there was a lot of lows. There was no period where I was like, if anything, it was like they spent too much time talking about, like, yes, we know. Game chat, guys. We know what game chat is. Like, I don't know why we need 10 minutes on this. Maybe you could have shortened that to 2 and then gotten rid of the mini direct last week, and it doesn't matter. But how can I get a new FromSoft IP and not be pumped? How can I get a new Donkey Kong seemingly trying to do the same thing they've done with their amazing, already existing franchises that they have? But at the same time, like, the communication was lacking. I think that they could have just been a little bit more upfront with us. I don't know. It felt cagey. It felt like they were trying to hide a little bit from us. Like, even like the little, did they say that the game was paid, that dumb welcome to Nintendo thing? Or
yes, they did.
They did say it? Okay, because I know they had like a little thing on the bottom that says a paid game. So I'm not thrilled with the way they communicated it all. There's still some questions to be had. Some good games, not top tier games. I do think they killed it with the port stuff. Like, that was a necessary thing to do, and they got the big games. They got Elden Ring. I think that was arguably the biggest one.
Split Fiction. Yeah,
so they're getting caught up to the existing generation immediately, very quickly, which is smart. But I think I made the joke to you before we started recording. It's like I was hoping to feel more energetic and excited about it at this point of the day than I'm feeling. So if it wasn't a console launch presentation, it'd be close to an A minus with the game shown. But being that what it was, it's a soft B for me.
B.
It's a soft B.
B for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're right. The communication could have been better, and like you said, we needed to come out of this. I need a Switch 2 now. I'm scalping all of these things, Mm-hmm. I'm excited for the pre-orders April 9th, but yeah, I think again there were a couple gut punches that made you question, should I be doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I will say for, just everybody out there, a friend of the show will text me shortly after and goes, well, I guess I don't need to pre-order one. And I quickly reminded him, just so you know, if you think at any point in the next year that you're going to want this thing, I would advise you to at least try to get a pre-order. The price is not going to go down. Please remember that although it was COVID times, the PS5 was impossible to find for 2 years. And speaking for myself, I would hate to get to the release of the Dustbloods and I still can't find this thing. So just anybody out there who's listening that thinks you might eventually want to get these things, just give it a second thought. I'm not saying to be willy-nilly with your money. I'm not saying to buy it if you don't have the funds. But if you think that this is something you're going to want in the next year, maybe not exactly at launch, but in the next year, I would say probably try and pick one up.
Okay.
But we'll see.
All right. That's going to lead us into our email about the Switch 2. the email was supposed to be read before it, but obviously we wanted to record immediately after. But I think the questions still stand here. So from pal of the show, Julio. What's up, guys? It's been a while since I wrote into you guys, but since the Switch 2 Nintendo Direct is coming out this week, I have a question for the both of you. What features or games are y'all looking forward to or hoping gets announced? Also, Nick, I know you're not that into Nintendo, especially since John has been persistent in wanting to lend you his Switch many times in the past, as well as there being a lot of high-quality games on it, in my opinion.
Yeah, loser.
So my question for you is, what would it take for Nintendo to sell you on buying a Switch 2? Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks, guys, and y'all keep up the good work. Julio.
Cool. You want to go first?
Yeah. Oh man, Nintendo, man, they just can't get me. I will say, the Zelda games being Switch enhanced, that was like, yes, excellent.
Yeah, because you fucking can get to pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, I intentionally knew this was going to happen, so I waited
No, you're smart.
7+ years for this moment
Smart boy.
to play Breath of the Wild.
It's definitely going to be one of these things too, where you play, you're like, it's okay. Just based on the amount of time, the amount that people have talked about it and all that stuff.
And I've played Breath of the Wild at some point in like small little things. I've had a controller in my hand and controlled Link for a minute. So that goes a long way. I just can't subscribe to the games that Nintendo has. Even now with a Switch library and an upcoming Switch 2 library, there's just something about that Nintendo magic that drives people there is just not there for me. And I think it is the lack of maturity in their games outside of maybe, the only gritty game they really have is the Metroid franchise. And even that's not that gritty at all.
No.
That they're a gameplay focused story second or last on almost all their games. I mean, the story just kind of services the gameplay moments. Like, I'm sure in this Donkey Kong game, it's just your bananas are going to get stolen or you're on the search for a golden banana.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Who gives
exactly.
a shit?
And while I can accept that for like an Astrobot in very brief moments, game here or there, when the entire platform is constantly releasing those games, I'll just wait for games to come to my platform of choice, PlayStation, where they're releasing the first party games that I enjoy. This presentation did not sway me in any way from that opinion. There's just, it is nice that it is a portable console. That is definitely a strength that it has, but
you have, like I was about to say, I don't think there's any world where Nick has a single portability use case,
right?
Like short of you're flying to another place,
right? Or I want to play video games on lunch or something,
Yeah,
it's just not there.
So to answer your question, Julio, CD Projekt Red would need to do what From Software just did to me and launch an exclusive product on Switch 2.
Yeah.
And then he wouldn't be able to resist. But that ain't happening.
No.
For me, for the features, like, my pie in the sky, the only thing that I really wanted, and I didn't think it was going to happen, but like I've tried to put in the ether, is like a trophy system for Nintendo. If it's not happening now, it ain't ever happening. Like, you would launch that you would just do it now as opposed to in the middle of the next generation. And I didn't expect them to. I mean, they're famously competition, hey, we're here for the joy of the game and all that stuff. And like, that's cool. But I want to. It's a very Nintendo thing. But so I was really hoping for that. But I think they did a pretty decent job with features in terms of user friendliness, trying to think of people's wallets, with the major exception of their game prices. They were a little lacking in the terms of, like, usually Nintendo's good for a couple, like, whoa, that's a weird way to think about doing something. Like, obviously they had the mouse stuff going, but, like, besides that, it really is just a Super Switch. That is what it is. So, like, I'll be happy with it. Like I said, I'll pre-order it. I am one of those guys that I think I'll want it within the year. Not necessarily at launch, but I'll do it anyway just to get it.
That's what I'm gonna say. So it's June 5th.
Mm-hmm.
It's at your doorstep. What are you like? Yeah. What are you excited to play at that point? Just checking out Mario Kart?
That's actually a great question.
I mean, shiny new hardware is great and all, and I'm sure you'll be like, oh yeah, it feels better. Oh, the Joy-Cons feel better.
Pony up for the welcome tour. No, I honestly, dude, I don't know. I mean, it would be a thing that like I have Tears of the Kingdom, and like let me check.
That's true.
You know, I would probably first check that kind of stuff out. But no, yeah, you're right. It would probably be until Donkey Kong Bonanza, where it's like, okay, cool, I'm ready to actually dive into something. But I am just, you know, a guy that I'm just forward thinking with it, and that, you know, this thing is not going to drop in price for, you know, for a while. So I just might as well get one. I'm going to want one. I'm going to want to play the Dustbloods, so I might as well. And, you know, maybe there's some world I don't think this is the case because shiny hardware and all, but like I should just get it and put it in a closet and give it to my son for Christmas or something. But
sure,
you know.
And hey, okay, follow up question on, because you're obviously you're zeroing in on Dustblood, understandably.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we're gonna do the $1 million again. Is in front of you. What are you betting on that Dustbloods will be on PlayStation within a year later?
It will be.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can't. I'm not.
So what is it about this game that differentiates it? Because you seem very high on this as opposed to very cold on Night Rain.
Because I mean, the Night Rain is there's no campaign to it, right? It's simply a loop, which is
right.
It's I'm sure a great gameplay loop. I love playing Elden Ring, but like it's just not the type of way I want to spend my time. Like I really struggle more than anything in my life of thinking that I'm using my time inefficiently. And unfortunately, that includes games that can't be beaten. Like it just does. And like, you know, before you write in, well, Night Rain can actually be beaten if you beat the 4th day on the whatever. It's like cool, but you know, and then just I want to know more about this, right? If they come and they just like,
I was gonna say, like, you really we don't know what the loop of the Dustbloods is, but you're optimistic.
I am optimistic based on what was shown in the trailer. How they seem to highlight again, like there was never any more time than it seemed like 2 playable characters on screen. You know, it felt more like there's this narrative going on. What is like you're a vampire type dude. You know, it seems more like a traditional FromSoft experience, and that's what I'm going to choose to believe it is until I see otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. You got time. It'll probably be at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
Keely will always get a From Software thing. All right. So yeah, that's it. That is all the Nintendo news. And
ooh, real quick, I do have a list of like just this is new and exclusive Switch 2 launch titles. There's 7. Mario Kart World, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, Survival Kids, Arcade Archives 2 Ridge Racer, Fast Fusion, Bravely Default, Flying Fairy HD Remaster, and Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. That's all they have listed right now. So it's in terms of a launch lineup for day one, oof. They're leaning all on Mario Kart.
Yeah.
And then old games available day one on Switch 2, Hogwarts, Cyberpunk, Hitman, Deltarune, Fortnite, Street Fighter 6, Split Fiction, Puyo Puyo Tetris, Kinitsugami, Nabunaga's Ambition. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
It's like I said, I think
maybe Civ 7. Maybe Civ 7 would be like I could like try and spend a month trying to play this and like learn it. You know, there's nothing else to do on it.
Bad.
Maybe Civ
it's
7.
Not a bad choice.
Yeah.
Definitely not a bad choice, especially with the Joy-Cons mouse feature. But yeah, that is it. Again, I think we will be bringing Nintendo for the rest of the year, basically. I think there'll be news. They're doing their Treehouse Directs all week long, so more details of these games. Hopefully, Nintendo will respond to a lot of the feedback they've gotten on the internet about everything they've talked about so far. So we'll definitely be digging more into that. Is there anything else you want to tease before we wrap things up here about next episode?
I just got through the Golden Saucer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's making some progress. I think it's sticking this time.
Maybe I got through the Golden Saucer. I don't know. So you know how you have to go to the different areas, like where it's like I got through all the areas and then I went and like they're like, there's a fight. Is that the end of Golden Saucer or is there more?
I believe you're
Okay, cool.
leaving there.
Those mini games are pretty robust and cool.
Yeah, isn't it wild?
Especially that space one.
Yes,
I was like,
that's
whoa.
what I was thinking about. Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. So no, other than that, I'm just baseball season.
All right.
You want to talk baseball next week, Nick?
No,
Sure, our
not
listeners
really.
would.
Not really.
No, they wouldn't.
But I do want to talk about Death Stranding, John.
Okay. Okay.
I plan to have it beaten by next episode, and I really have to bring it because pal of the show, Jesse, also is playing it and completed it and considers it one of his top 10 games of all time, John.
Cool.
So, I'll have to really think about this because I know it is one of those games. It is very polarizing. You either extremely love it or you don't, and we'll see what I think next episode as well.
Is there a platinum run in your future? I've heard this is a long one.
Yeah, it's 120 hours, I think.
Yeah.
So that's pretty rough. Not very likely. That would probably crush any dream of playing the next one in a couple months.
Sure, you get below burned.
Yeah, so
burned out.
I don't want to do that. So I might go back and complete some roads, check out some stuff and check out some features of it that I maybe skipped as I was trying to get through it. But I'll have my full thoughts next week, and I'm planning on checking out RoboCop Rogue City as well.
Oh, cool.
That is a free game on PlayStation. Another 70 game that is I'll check out for free.
For free.
So, all right, John, that's the show. You brought a song?
I did. Yeah, I figured let's being that From Software wanted to, kind of trick me into thinking Bloodborne 2 was a thing, at least at this point. Figured let's play some Bloodborne music, because that seems to be what the Dusk. God, I don't like the name though. The Dustbloods. It's not easy to say. I feel like this is like a spiritual Bloodborne 2. So we're gonna go with Lady Maria of the Astral Clock Tower from the Bloodborne soundtrack.
Nice.
There's a lot of composers. I don't know who specifically did that one. We're gonna go give it to Yuka Kitamura because she gets the most recognized from him. So I don't know if that's her or not, but
I mean, if Nintendo can pull a From Software exclusive, maybe Sony can finally get that Bloodborne 2 sequel in the works. That'll be their 2027 game. That will be nominated for Game of the Year.
This is my 4-year ahead prediction. Bloodborne will be a remake for the PS6, and then we'll get an announcement for Bloodborne 2 on the PS6.
Okay.
They're gonna do the same thing they did with Demon's Souls.
All right. Well, you're placing a lot of hefty bets this episode.
You gotta try and will things into existence.
Yeah, you really do. All right. Well, that's the show. Please write in with your thoughts. There's a lot to talk about with Nintendo Switch 2, and we would love to hear them again. Please email in betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com, and you'll be read on the show. But until then, we thank you for listening. We love you all out there, and we'll be back next week with a normal show and up to 6 things. Bye.
Later, guys.